Third POV. Izuku walked down with the rest of the students towards the gym Gamma, stretching his limbs absent-mindedly after his training an hour ago. With it being the weekend and with no classes, the students had more free time to relax and spend their free time however they wish, while the pros and teachers did their patrols and duty as heroes. Some of both 1A and 1B were just hanging and chilling out with their rival classmates, like the arm wrestling competition going on between Kirishima and Tetsu. Some were finishing up assigned homework and studies and so on. Though, for some reason, all of the girls of 1A, and Setsuna surprisingly, were taken away by a particularly vengeful Midnight to do some chores they agreed to do for the teachers. Even Nijire, May, and Melissa went along, though it was clear that they all looked unhappy but accepting. At least, some were accepting. May had to be dragged against her will by most of the girls from her babies, which Izuku could only guess was the lab and whatever they were doing with the lightsaber instructions and crystals they received. It was a rather disappointing development. Izuku was planning on getting to better know and get closer to the girls that he had finally admitted he liked. He even asked if he could join, but Midnight was surprisingly adamant that it was a girl's assignment, though from what he saw from the girls it looked like this was punishment. So, with that avenue closed, Izuku decided to spend the rest of the day playing with Eri and Kuta, and training. He spent the first half of the day playing games with the two children before he let Mirio take charge while he went to train. The other half of his day was spent with a training session he scheduled with All Might and Bakugo, training himself in mid-air combat with Black Whip and preparation for float. Izuku rolled his eyes when he remembered how Bakugo mocked him when All Might revealed that float was his next quirk to be unlocked, bragging that while Izuku was going to be playing catch-up on something Bakugo could already do, Bakugo would only improve and surpass him further. Of course, the two got into a half-heated argument, but it was civil and refined compared to the arguments, or more accurately mocking and bullying sessions, that they had in the past. Izuku was also intrigued by how his mentor knew that float was the next likely quirk he would manifest, but all that the former pro could divulge was that it was a gut feeling. But after that they went to practice, but not at Gym Gamma for some reason. All Might said that the staff was making it ready for their next session of death battle videos. But Izuku could tell there was something else going on. In any case, they were forced to use a backup location. The USJ, now 100% villain-free. Both he and Bakugo would spar in multiple locations and scenarios, with both of them getting wins over the other. Izuku took his losses with humbleness, and while Bakugo was getting better at it, he still was mad at any loss and would retaliate with greater force in the next session. Eventually, Ochiko, Tsuyu, and Shiro would arrive and join them upon his and All Might's request, though Izuku noticed that Ochiko and Tsuyu were particularly tired compared to Shiro, and the verdant-haired teen could only chalk it up to whatever Midnight had them doing. When asked, the two wouldn't say much. In fact, throughout their training sessions, Izuku noticed that aside from the tips and bits of help they shared, the two girls were rather weird around him. They refused to look him in the eye, they were antsy and fidgety, and he could tell that they were staring at him intently when they thought he wasn't looking, like how he normally would look when he was analyzing someone's quirk. He found it strange and disconcerting. He was worried that he may have done something wrong, but he didn't have the heart to confront them, especially with All Might, Bakugo, and Shiro around to hear. And while Shiro was unequivocally helpful, the ninth bearer of One for All would notice that All Might and Bakugo were talking about something profound. All Might looked grim and serious, and Bakugo didn't have that same fire he always had. He looked almost somber and regretful. As much as the training session had given him many tips and helpful advice for Black Whip and Float, he came out just as confused about what was going on with the people in his life. Now, after a quick return to campus and a shower, the gathered students were making their way to Gym Gamma to meet up with the returning heroes and teachers for another set of death battle videos. As mysterious and even terrifying as some of the revelations the group found concerning the vast multiverse they witnessed were, Izuku could see that the information from the videos was incredibly helpful for all the students. Izuku saw that some of the more close-quarter combative students, i.e. Sato, Shoji, Jirota, Sin, Ojiro, and Kendo, taking notes from equally offensive fighters, like Thor, Raiden, Shao Kahn, Blanka, and more. Kamakiri looked like he was practicing some of the martial arts from Fulgore and Sector. Even Kaminari was begging Kendo to show him some martial arts to incorporate with his quirk, like Raiden. As they made their way to the gym, Izuku noticed the girls looked exhausted, particularly Melissa. If he could guess from what he saw of them, then it had to be a physically taxing form of labor, as Melissa didn't have the same training and regular exercise as the hero students. May looked a little winded too, but it was both because she dealt with a lot heavier machinery and hands-on approach than Melissa did, and it was hard to tell under May's constant energetic persona. Other pieces of evidence he found were some of the girls rubbing their backs and arms, implying they were lifting heavy objects, and the way Hagakure was limping showed she must have stubbed her foot at some point. The students made it to the gym, where they found the heroes and teachers, most of them in their civilian clothes again, waiting outside for them, with David Shield and Power Loader bringing in the device and Fat Gum carting in some more snacks and drinks. Though strangely, Izuku found that Aizawa, Present Mike, and Gran Torino were not among them. As soon as they got permission to go inside from Nizu, they saw that the gym was different than before. Gone was the tall set of stands that once was their seats, and in its place were a wide variety of seats, from sofas long and short, comfy living room style chairs and seats, even some bean bags and mats to lay on. As you can see, we had ordered and brought in some more comfortable seating arrangements for everyone to partake in for a more relaxing viewing experience, Nizu explained as they walked in. About time, Mount Lady muttered, rubbing her ass, which drew some lecherous glances from the guys. This big round booty of mine was not going to handle sitting on that cement seat. Oh please, don't be such a drama queen. Midnight rolled her eyes at her rival. Cementos made the seats with the softest cement he could make. Well, I suppose if an old hag like you can settle it, then I don't have much to complain about, Mount Lady retorted back. Before another catfight could break out between the two pro-heroines, Nizu spoke up further. Please take your preferred seat as calmly and civilized as possible, or I will be forced to sit you according to my own preference. With the warning easing down the excited grins from the students, they made their way to sit down with the adults following right behind them. In the end, most chose to sit with their groups or cliches they formed with this greater closeness between classes. The larger students and teachers sat in the seats in the back to avoid any blocking of the screen for others, while the smaller of them sat up front. Izuku sat cross-legged on a mat to sit beside Eri and Kuta on bean bags, with Mirio sitting beside them in a seat. As May and Melissa were setting up the device, Izuku couldn't help but notice that he caught more looks from not just Ochiko and Tsuyu, but the rest of the girls he liked. The 10 girls had conveniently sat relatively close to him, almost circling him in a ring of their protection and vigilance. When he saw Nijire staring at him at one point, a dark thought ran through his head. What if she ratted my secret to the girls and now they're looking at me with pity? Izuku immediately discarded the thought as quickly as it came. Izuku knew Nijire, she was sweet, kind, lovable and loyal. He knew she would never go back on their promise. Izuku flinched that he could even think that Nijire would do that, cursing that habit he developed since Aldera. Before we begin though, I do wish to inform you all of some recent developments, Nizu spoke up. Due to a certain classified investigation, Eraser, Present Mike, and Gran Torino will not be joining us for today. The students nodded silently, the one a group curious as to what happened with their teacher when it was All Might who came to check in on them and not their insomniac homeroom teacher. However, a new face will join us today, and for the foreseeable future, Nizu smirked as he looked up. Feel free to come down whenever you want. A chuckle rang out from above, the tone familiar to a few of the students, especially a certain raven-headed emo teen. As they looked up, they could hear the flapping of wings in time for the man himself to start descending in front of them. Hey everyone, guess who? Hawks flashed that charismatic smirk. Master Hawks. Tokoyami stood up and bowed to his mentor. Tokoyami, what did I say about that? Hawks chuckled, shaking his head fondly. It's just Hawks, none of this master stuff. Makes me feel old, right, Endeavor? Mind if I take this seat here? Don't want any of my feathers stuck in the cushions. Endeavor made no visible reaction to the number 2 pro hero or how he sat in the chair in between Endeavor's and edge shots. Well, not one that most of the group couldn't see. Todoroki could see that his father's eye twitched for a split second. Hey Edgy, Hawk said, looking over toward the number 4 hero. So, what's this I heard about my ninja counterpart beating your ninja counterpart? Edgeshot was still for a few seconds, slowly but surely directing his venomous gaze over at Nizu. The principal of UA made no discernible reaction to the shinobi hero's glare and kept drinking his coffee, all while his inner self laughed maniacally. "Ah, now, Ms. Hatsum, Ms. Shield, if you please, start the device so we can get started," Nizu ordered. Aye, Mr. Principal." Mei Fo saluted as she and Melissa activated the device and the viewing systems. As the device turned on and the projection produced video, a text box was the first thing that they saw. It read, "Update available. Permission to update." "Update?" Nina questioned, scratching her head. "Oh right," Mei perked up and exclaimed. "This must be the update that the baby said it needed yesterday. You mean when it couldn't quantify a counterpart for Godzilla because of its multiple variants?" Momo recalled. "What do you think, Sir Dave?" All might looked to Nizu and his friend. "Might as well," Nizu replied. This update could provide more beneficial information and less inconveniences like before. David nodded in agreement, looking at his daughter and the pink-haired inventor. "Do it," he said. "Ooh, this should be interesting," Hawks grinned, excited he showed up in time to see this development happen. With the controller in hand, Melissa pressed the play button, pressing yes on the screen. Instantly, the device glowed, and before the group's eyes began to shift and morph in a manner several of them compared to the transformation sequence of the Transformers, including Starscream. The once simple rectangular box had gained a bulkier fixture, the edges plated and stuck out more like pads. The neon lines of the box shifted into new pathways, the light glowing a bright red and more futuristic than before. The lines all convened at the center of its forward-facing side. An icon displaying a black-lettered DB formed in the middle. "Update verified. Multiversal counterpart detection and analysis upgraded." The device sounded in a more monotone computer-style speech tone that reverberated to the ears of the group. "Now, confirming for greater range of sentient AI soul comparison and additional counterpart probability feature." "Jesus, that was sick," Kaminari gasped out, his face stunned at the transformation. "Additional counterpart probability feature." Mandalay raised an eyebrow at one of the new features. "Confirming for a greater range of sentient AI soul comparison." Power Loader repeated the other feature. "Is it talking about being able to tell the counterparts to robots and AI more easily?" "Possible," Endeavor responded. "We have encountered previous robot fighters that the device couldn't identify." "You mean this Terminator thing and Metal Sonic guy?" Hawks guessed. Upon receiving an interrogating gaze from the number 1 pro, Hawks raised his hands in friendly surrender. "The print caught me up on what I missed." "Still though, hey Midoriya." The green-haired teen jumped, slightly startled at being called out by the number 2 pro. "Can you write down a copy of all I missed between the fights? Don't want to mess up your analysis thing, kid, but it sure would be helpful." "Sure." Izuku smiled and went right back to writing down the new developments of the device, plus having Black Whip take out a notebook from his bag for him to write a copy of all he had written down. "Now that I think about it, from what the rat said, those notebooks of his have every kind of info about the quirks and skills of the students, teachers, and all our pros," Hawks realized. "Don't you think that maybe we need to be more careful those things don't get into the wrong hands?" Endeavor noticed the shift in the winged hero's eyes when he said the wrong hands, and Endeavor immediately knew what Hawks was referring to. The Meta Liberation Army. Endeavor thought of the reformed and greatly outnumbering force of the Meta Liberation Army that Hawks had warned him of in the book he gave him. The one that warned of a force numbering in the tens of thousands that would strike within the next 4 months. It was this terrifying development that made Endeavor work his sidekicks double time and made him more invested in the training of not just Shoto, but the other students, for they would likely be needed for the war to come. If the villains were to get a hand on Midoriya's notebooks, no matter how good intentioned they are, they could end up being the ruin of us all. Endeavor felt a bead of sweat roll down his head, already noting to talk with Nizu after this. As the group recovered from the shock of the new development with the device, the files of the fights came up with the latest one currently selected and ready to play. Batman vs. Captain America. Fueled by curiosity, Melissa pressed the play button, and the video began with the Metal Death Battle intro music. Defending the weak from powerful agents of evil demands a champion who has achieved the peak of human capability, all in the name of justice, began the intro, ending off by showing a scene of Batman smashing two guards together and knocking them out. And sometimes vengeance. Batman the Dark Knight. Boomstick introduced the first fighter. And Captain America, the Sentinel of Liberty, introduced the second, newer fighter. Sentinel of Liberty, Setsuna chuckled. Guy just screams America. I think I remember something about him from one of the previous fights. Izuku spoke up, looking over his notebooks to the right one. Flipping through the pages, he found his target. Yeah, right here. It was in Batman's fight with Spider-Man. You mean the one with your bajillionth counterpart that made out with a sexy cat thief? Mineta asked with jealousy / mixed with suspicion. Mineta did not forget all those times when it seemed like Midoriya was forming a harem with the girls of their class and beyond. And it left Mineta as envious as he was in awe of him. The girls all remembered the interesting facts of Peter Parker having a very complicated love life, with two of his romantic interests, Mary Jane Watson and Gwen Stacy, being counterparts to two among their ranks of the sisterhood, Ochako and Melissa. They wondered if perhaps Black Cat's counterpart not specified was because she would have her own fight in the future, and who among themselves would even be the cat burglar if they were right in their assumption of it being one of them. Why yeah, moving on. Izuku quickly shook off his blush at the memory. Anyways, they said in Spider-Man's analysis that Captain America respected and saw Spider-Man as one of the best of all the superheroes, including himself. It also said in his feats that both he and Spider-Man went toe-to-toe in combat. Well, then I know who is going to win this death battle, Kamakiri bragged, arms crossed over his head. Well then please enlighten us, Mandible Face. Sun rolled his eyes and asked his classmate. Captain America, of course, Kamakiri stated as if it was obvious. It's simple. Spider-Man defeated Batman. Spider-Man and Captain America are evenly matched. So, Cap beats Bat. Simple math. I don't know. Itsuka frowned under that logic. That sounds too simple, especially when we're talking about different heroes fighting each other. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick. Boomstick introduced the both of them. And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Wiz ended the intro. The first fighter the group had already seen, and they were still intimidated by the Dark Knight. His tall height, Greek god-level physique, soul-chilling glare, and dark, caped attire were sure evidence of why this vigilante was feared throughout his city with just his shadow. The sight of the superpowerless hero brought smiles to Izuku and Melissa, remembering how much joy they felt upon seeing such a hero with such prestige, all achieved by hard work and billions of dollars, and with no superpowers like quirks. Izuku still felt slightly guilty for not voting for the Caped Crusader despite this fact, but he remembered that he couldn't have voted against Spider-Man for much the same reasons. Plus, it would have been awkward if he had voted against his counterpart. Melissa smiled, glad to see more of the Dark Knight that helped to further fan the flames of her reignited dream of being a hero. While she didn't have the same amount of money as the Bat-themed vigilante, or the same amount of training or time as the hero students, Melissa felt confident that she could one day achieve the dream she so sought after as a child, to be just like both her Uncle Might and Deku, to help save people as hero just as much as her support items would help heroes too. But the question that Melissa was currently grappling with was how to be that hero. As much as she wanted, she couldn't see herself donning the cowl of the Batman, or Batwoman in this case. She didn't have the same chilling intimidation or broodiness as Batman, and she sure as hell didn't think she could become just as capable a fighter as the Bat either. I know the risks, I know the challenges ahead of me, but I want this. I want to be a support item creator and a hero, more than anything, Melissa thought to herself. But how? Shame that Aizawa won't be here to see his counterpart again, All Might muttered. I think he would say that he is currently doing something much more important, Midnight whispered back. The two's moods dropped a bit, only imagining what kind of pain and anguish Aizawa and Mike were forced to deal with currently. Batman. Throughout the underworld of Gotham City, one name strikes fear in the cold, black hearts of even the most hardened criminals, began the analysis. The Batman. Jesus. Setsuna shivered. I know we saw a lot of him before, but that glare still gives me chills. But becoming a 6-foot flying rat of vengeance comes at a cost, Boomstick noted. For 8-year-old Bruce Wayne, it was helplessly watching as his parents were gunned down in front of him on the way back from the theater. The group flinched and felt sad once more for the poor young Bruce Wayne. Kuta, especially, frowned, knowing full well what kind of pain Wayne felt when he saw the dead bodies of his parents covered in those white blankets while his aunt hugged him. Hawks frowned, seeing the despair and sadness of the newly made orphan. Hawks thought back to his own family life, his bastard criminal of a father, his mother that questioned why she even had him. In Hawk's heart, he might as well not have had any true parents and was raised by the Commission as their star hero and weapon. He could only imagine the pain that Bruce felt, because he felt, if his parents died like Wayne's, he doubted he would have felt anything at all. That poor kid, Boomstick said sadly. That opera really must have scarred him. You insensitive ass, Setsuna grumbled. Maybe he meant the outing as a whole, Hagakure suggested. Given what we've seen of Boomstick so far, doubt it, Izuku replied. Background: 41. Height: 6 foot 2 inch / 1.9 meters. Weight: 210 pounds per 95.3 kilograms. Secret identity: Bruce Wayne. Net worth: $6.9 billion. Perfected every martial art known to man. Has had 23 girlfriends, kissed at least 60 women. Mineta gazed at that last feat and likewise was left as jealous as he was willing to praise such a playboy like Bruce Wayne. Bruce's genius-level intellect and physical prowess allowed him to pick up a vast array of skills on his global journey to become the Dark Knight, was detailed. He became an expert in the art of disguise and a master of every fighting style known to man. He's perfected escape artistry, sword fighting, detective skills, stealth, has a photographic memory, earned 12 master's degrees, is an expert marksman, and is vastly knowledgeable in pressure points. Dear Lord, Kaminari rubbed his head at the sheer number of skills of Bruce Wayne. How does a man have that much space in his brain? Wouldn't you know? You have plenty already, Kyoka snickered. You gotta admit, you walked right into that one. Zero patted Kaminari on the back. And we're positive he's not superhuman. Boomstick stated his incredulity. Izuku and Melissa smiled, again proud and happy that someone like them was capable of so many skills, strengths, and abilities that made most, if not all, of their heroes pale by comparison. Officially no, he's not, but he has learned to appear so in the minds of his opponents, was replied. Having been trained by the infamous The League of Assassins, Batman's greatest weapon is fear. Wait, I thought they said the group that trained was called the League of Shadows, not Assassins? Ojiro questioned. Given the name and the fact they are referred to as infamous, they might very well be assassins either way, Shoji replied. I wonder if they are any worse than our league, Sato rhetorically asked. Despite the rhetorical nature of Sato's question, the mention of the League of Villains did bring back memories of the villainous group's actions throughout the year. Izuku still recalled Shigaraki's creepy smile and promised that their next encounter will be their last, and the heart-stopping terror that all for one dealt to his soul. The girls drifted their gaze over toward their green-haired crush, their thoughts traveling back to the video that showed him encountering the League more than anyone else in their class. Momo then thought about those scenes from the video that didn't add up to the events of the year, especially his battle against the League's leader, Shigaraki. After hours of thought, she concluded that Izuku did encounter Shigaraki during the attack on the USJ and their group shopping trip to the mall where Shigaraki threatened the lives of the civilians so that the two of them could talk. But from what Uraraka said, the two didn't fight. Shigaraki just left and disappeared, and his hair was still the bluish-gray he was reported to have, not the white hair the video showed, and this was all before Izuku manifested the black whip power that he used that video's fight. Unless Izuku, Bakugu, and Todoroki are covering up an encounter during their internship at Endeavor's agency, then something is not adding up, Momo thought over, her mind feeling like she was smashing it against a brick wall to no effect. Looking toward Bakugu and Todoroki, she found her targets. I need to ask them if they encountered the League at any point then before I can think this over anymore. Hawks kept back this desire to flinch when the League was brought up. Memories back during that meeting came up in Hawks's mind, where Redestro announced Shigaraki, now sporting mysterious white hair, as their Grand Commander. How they rebranded themselves as the Paranormal Liberation Front, and all those meetings where he had to suck up to the leadership of the PLF that now included the League in charge. He remembered what Nizu told him about this Dr. Garaki they encountered throughout the videos. When he heard about the connections that this man's counterpart seemed to have with Kurogiri, another member of the League, and how the Warp Gate villain might be a Nomu created by this doctor, Hawks's mind felt like it hit an epiphany. Could this Garaki be the doctor? Hawks recalled as he overheard one meeting of the PLF leadership that Shigaraki was in works with a doctor, and that by the end of these 4 months, Shigaraki would be reborn, and they would be ready to strike at Japan. I have to find out for all our sakes. All it takes is a glimpse of that pointy-eared shadow and criminals start shaking in their boots, Boomstick stated. I suppose that his use of fear against criminals is a flip side to your time as the symbol of peace. Huh, All Might? Cementus commented. Yes, you could see it that way. All Might admitted, agreeing that while their methods and stances were different, he and Batman both were a deterring factor for criminals and villains, the evildoers of the world being less antsy to strike with the ever-present threat of All Might, the symbol of peace, there to stop them, and Batman seemed to have a similar effect. Now, though, that symbol is losing here to deter them anymore. Endeavor thought the same as his #1 predecessor, his nose rubbing in his fallibility for how criminals don't see him with as much fear as All Might. However, bitterness and humility won't cease this rise of villainy. Only action will. And I promise the world to watch me and see what I will do. And I will do just that. Utility belt. Backclaw. Smoke pellets. Various batarangs. Explosive gel. Disruptor. Chuck gloves. Cryptographic sequencer. Forensic analysis kit. First aid kit. Shark repellent. He can disappear and reappear in an instant thanks to his mastery of stealth and the high-tech gadgets he keeps in his utility belt, like his Batclaw grappling hook, smoke pellets, tons of different batarangs, a Serpto Huzawatsit for hacking into anything, and shock gloves. Boomstick listed that last gadget incredulously. Interesting. Melissa adjusted her glasses. That device seems to be able to hack into any sort of security system and deactivate it with a specific action or deciphering the system's passcode. Oh, imagine if we could repurpose that kind of technology. May smiled excitedly. We could develop and spread it to multiple heroes to make hacking and disarming explosive ornaments and devices super easy. Not a bad idea. David figured, likewise interested. Though, the more it is spread, the easier it would be to misplace or steal the technology for villains to use against ourselves. The thought of villains using such a similar technology to hack into I-Island security systems brought nasty memories of the past. Hey, don't underestimate the shock gloves, was warned. They release a charge powerful enough to penetrate Kevlar, and even stop the heart of one of Batman's most powerful enemies, Bane. Oh, daddy likey. Kaminari rubbed his hands together, extremely interested. Please don't ever say that again. Kyoka shivered negatively at Kaminari's words. Though you do bring up a good idea, Kaminari. Izuku spoke up to the electrification user. I respect and admire your attempt to make your electrification quirk more accurate and useful in longer ranges, but have you thought about improving your close quarters fighting style? Despite electrification being highly useful up close, there could be villains and criminals that will try to insulate themselves to render your quirk ineffective. Maybe with shock gloves of your own, and some more physical training, you could damage through their defenses and simply incapacitate them with physical force instead. Although, maybe with Kaminari's body type that may take a while. Although the martial arts from Raiden might help. Maybe a long-range, physical weapon would be better instead, like Raiden's staff? Or maybe something like an electrical whip that Miss Midnight could teach him. And he's gone again. Nijire giggled as Izuku stumbled into another mumbling session. Despite being unable to comprehend anything more of Izuku's mutterings, it did get Kaminari's brain to grind its gears. He had noticed that despite his attempts to better work his long-range combat, he left his physical combat lacking in comparison, likely because he felt that it was unnecessary with how powerful his quirk was up close already. But as he remembered how his joint class training match went, despite his team winning, he was still left easily vulnerable to Shiozaki's non-conductive vine hair, and if Shishida had armor that could insulate himself from his electricity, Kaminari knew he would get trounced by the furry giant. Looking at Batman with his shock gloves and catching some of Midoriya's ramblings at the end, Kaminari began to think, maybe a physical weapon could work well for me if I have to get physical and can't electrocute them. I mean, not everyone can take 1.3 million volts to the heart and take it, Kaminari figured, flinching suddenly at the possibility of giving someone heart failure. An electric whip though. That does sound pretty badass now that I think about it. Kaminari grinned at the image he was forming in his head. But then he restarted it because he's nice like that, Boomstick pointed out. Phew, I almost thought that he killed that big dude. Nina wiped her forehead. From the previous video, Wizard did state that Batman has a very rigid rule about not killing his enemies despite their repeated escapes from prison and offenses, Momo pointed out. Perhaps, this is an example of how dedicated he is to that rule. Bane later said, "Thank you, the only way he knew how." Boomstick showed the infamous scene of Bane breaking Batman's back with the accompanying sound of bones breaking. Oof, I forgot about that. Sin rubbed his back as if imagining that kind of pain. Didn't they say he got better from that? Indeed, Ida nodded, frowning at how morbidly familiar this reminded him of his brother becoming paralyzed by Stain. What about you, Kaken? Mina asked teasingly. Did your back feel like breaking after Midori judo flipped you? Shut it, weird eyes. Bakuga roared back, his forehead veins twitching. Like hell, Deka's weak-ass toss hurt me. I don't know, I was there, and I saw you groaning pretty badly after your back met the ground. Uraraka teased as well. Shut the fuck up, pink cheeks, before I show you how hard I flipped the nerd after you left. Bakugu threatened. As they argued, Shinso rubbed his back, himself a victim of Midoriya's judo flipping during their match in the sports festival finals. In all honesty, the indigo-haired teen was scrawnier back then, and with the force that Midoriya tossed him, it took him days to get over the residual back pain. I'm surprised Batty didn't pull something out of the utility belt to stop that one, considering it seems to contain anything Batman could ever need, Boomstick continued. Even shark repellent. Well, that's new, Azui simply said, blank-faced at seeing the Dark Knight hang upon a ladder to a bat-themed helicopter whilst a shark was biting at his leg. Wouldn't that leg become shark chow? Kamakiri scratched at his head, remembering how powerful a shark's jaws can be. Guess that shows just how buff Batman is, Setsuna shrugged. Actually, that's a common misconception, Wiz corrected. The shark repellent was stored in the helicopter that Robin was flying, not Batman's utility belt. Oh yeah, because that makes it so much less ridiculous. Boomstick's voice sounded so condescending that the group could practically hear him rolling his eyes. Wait a minute, I was too busy focusing on what I was seeing and how his leg wasn't chum. Cozy Eye shook his head and rubbed his eyes for good measure. Shark, what now? Plus, have you seen the sharks in the DC universe? Wiz questioned. What played was a scene of King Shark ripping a man in two with his bare hands. Izuku and Mirio were quick on the draw to cover up Ares and Kuta's eyes. That guy looks like Gang Orca's great white cousin, Siro said, shivering at the shark man's killer feat. Shoji and Kyoka snickered, wondering if they should bring that up to the killer whale hero during their next internship. Oh, I get it now, Boomstick admitted. Batman also carries explosive gel, Wiz continued with Batman's other gadgets. A cluster of this substance can be sprayed onto nearly any surface and remotely detonate. Perfect for distractions. Or blowing shit up. Boomstick exclaimed, showing a scene of both Batman blowing up an unstable wall and watching from a vantage point as a clueless criminal walked over to the placed explosive gel. Tip for criminals. If you know Batman's after you, avoid anything shaped like a bat. Batman clicked the trigger, and the criminal was sent flying. Oh, and he's fine. Mostly. Nice. Bakugo grinned, approving of Batman's style. I suppose we should just accept this and not question how an explosion doesn't immediately kill those criminals like Bakugrat and his explosions. Monoma smirked haughtily. The hell you call me copycat? Bakugo barked back. How about I should show you how easy I've been going you? Okay, that's enough from the both of you. All Might stopped whatever fight was about to sprout. Just because Aizawa isn't here to rein you in doesn't give you a pass, Bakugo. Behave, or we will need to discuss your previously scheduled detention. Gore, yes sir, Bakugo grumbled. And you as well, Monoma. Glad King pulled Monoma's ear back and away from the explosive Pomeranian. Any more of this and it will be detention for you as well. Somebody in here. A thug with a bruised eye opened the door to the dark room. The man sees Batman standing in the middle of the room, glaring at the man silently. After a second contemplation, the thug closes the door without another word. Something wrong? Another thug asked as he came up to the thug. Nope, the thug replied, walking away and possibly rethinking his life. That has to be the smartest criminal I have ever seen, Hawks chuckled. I wonder if that black eye he's got was because he tangled with Batsy before. Miruko snickered. Bruce chose the guise of a bat to project his own fear of the flying mammal onto his enemies, was revealed. Izuku blinked at Wiz's reveal and started thinking about himself. I guess it's somewhat similar to my hero name, Deku, Izuku thought. 4 years he was called Deku as an insult, a brand marked on him to say that he was worthless and nothing, the memories of what happened on White Day coming back again. Never say that ever again. Nijire's words from last night played in his head again. You deserve to be loved. Izuku smiled sadly, his heart aching as it longed for that hug she gave him with all the love she could muster. And with her words of encouragement and comfort, he also thought of Uraraka, who gave him a likewise reality shift. Uraraka helped turn that name into something different, made me see it and myself as the Deku who can do anything. Izuku looked toward Uraraka and Nijire. The two huddled on the sofa behind him, with Tsu, Momo and Kyoka. Izuku smiled at the two, thankful for what they had done for him. Now, if only he could figure out why they were so antsy around him, all of a sudden. However, that is not the Batsuit's only purpose, Wiz continued. Batsuit, repurposed Nomex survival suit. Almost totally bulletproof. Flame and shock resistant. Cape doubles as a glider. Cowl's pararamid fibers lessen impacts on the head. Gauntlets armed with fireable blades. Conceals both heartbeat and heat signature. Thanks to some military-grade armor he stole from his own company with Morgan Freeman's permission, the Batsuit is almost completely bulletproof, knife-proof, electricity-proof, punch-proof, dog-proof and theft-proof. Boomstick listed all the things that Batsuit was proofed against. But not spider-proof. Reiko mentioned Batman's defeat at the hands of Spider-Man, the last death battle with the Dark Knight. Inside Batman's cowl is an array of high-tech gear commonly used for listening to police scanners and communicating with allies. Was revealed more of the Caped Crusader suit. But in combat, Batman finds more use in its night, infrared and ultraviolet vision. Was showed a scene of Batman's eyes turning blue and then seeing the world through the imaging from the nearby phones. Also, its built-in triangulation imaging system, which hacks into the world's cell phones and creates a digital 3D map. You mean he can see everything I do, just because I have a phone? Boomstick questioned. More or less, was answered. Ask him where I left my keys. Boomstick asked. That would be sick at finding stuff, Kirishima muttered. No more lost socks. No, that is incredibly illegal. Ida jumped up, his arm going Sonic-level speeds of chopping. That is an incredibly illegal invasion of privacy, and if he used it in a city as big as this Gotham, that would be about millions of computer trespassing crimes. I am sure it was for a good reason. Kirishima sweat dropped. Feats. Avoided unavoidable omega beams. Survived outer space for 24 seconds. Bench press. 1,000 pounds. Leg press. 2,500 pounds. Can throw a batarang 100 miles per hour. Defeated the entire Justice League and Superman. Swapped a poisoned drink faster than the literal blink of an eye. Broke into Area 51 and Area 52. Aside from mass invasion of privacy, Batman's resume includes such accomplishments as dodging Darkseid's virtually unavoidable Omega beams, withstanding the vacuum of space for 24 seconds, defeating the whole Justice League almost single-handedly, was listed all of Batman's greatest feats, and breaking free from a coffin, buried 6 feet underground in a straitjacket after being deprived of sleep for days, all while having a cocktail of unknown drugs in his system along with the Joker's latest venom toxin. I'm sorry, my mind tapped out after the straitjacket part. What did he do? Hagakure exclaimed, a look of complete and utter shock on her unseeable face. The rest of the group joined her in similar looks of amazement, shock, and utter disbelief. Bakuga didn't know whether to further admire this superpowerless man or question if he actually blew a gasket that such a monster of man even exists somewhere out there. Damn, was all Hawks could respond outwardly, but inside he would be grinning like a madman, desperate already to show this kind of madman toward the HPSC and PLF and stick it to those quirkish bastards and their philosophy about quirk strength and power being what should define a person's station, especially that icy pretty boy Geeton. What the fuck? Boomstick exclaimed in sheer disbelief. The intimidating image of Batman's shadowed visage standing over his freshly dug out grave displayed closer, comically. Are we positive that we're positive he's not superhuman? Honestly, sorry Melissa, but I have to agree to question that too, Uraraka admitted, wide-eyed and slack-jawed. No, I understand. Melissa patted her new friend in reassurance, in a similar state of shock. Well, given his line of work, I wouldn't be surprised if he stumbled into a room filled with gamma rays or something like that, was admitted his unsureness. But underneath the batsuit, he is affected by knives and bullets the same as any other mortal man. Even though he usually comes out victorious, his self-confidence occasionally puts him in life-threatening situations he can't escape without help. Like Bane's thank you spine durability test, Boomstick pointed out. Well, at least he's not invincible, Mount Lady let out a nervous chuckle. But the Caped Crusader has consistently found a way to survive even the most life-threatening situations and save his city from near total destruction hundreds of times, was said. And Bats has no problem continuously going toe-to-toe with evil in the name of justice. Vengeance, Boomstick corrected himself. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. Batman proclaimed as he held the Joker up with one hand before delivering the smackdown onto the clown prince of crime. R.I.P. Kevin Conroy. You truly were the night. That final declaration sent shivers up the spines of the group. Izuku couldn't help but grin ear to ear at such a heroic declaration that must be a staple or catchphrase of the world's greatest detective. The second fighter was introduced with a chorus of triumphant trumpets, and the very visage of the man himself brought more awe and inspiration than even the music. The man was tall, with a body that the group felt was sculpted by the gods themselves in the image of perfection, to the amazement and envy of the room's males and the pleasant stares and approving smiles of the girls. Even the girls of the sisterhood could not deny the man's Herculean figure, and Izuku could not blame the girls if they thought so. He, himself, gazing at the man like was All Might reborn. The man donned a blue, red, and white suit. An earlier comment about his suit looking like the American flag threw up on him was admittedly accurate. The man's tight pants, helm, and upper half of the torso were an ocean to navy blue, with a Sentinel of Liberty's helm sporting a white eye on his forehead and a large white star on his muscular chest. Below the white star, his abdomen was white and red vertical stripes that ended down to his brown utility belt. Beginning from half of his large biceps, the arms ran white, and his wrists and hands were covered in bright red gloves with red boots to complement his attire. And finishing off this heroic symbol of virtue's attire was a large circular disc-like shield strapped usually to his right arm in leather bonds. The shield painted in a blue circle with a white star in the middle and 3 ever larger rings, the first and last in red and the middle in white. Captain America. Born to poor Irish immigrants in Manhattan on July 4, 1920, Stephen Rogers grew up with little money, few friends and even fewer muscles. Boomstick interrupted, showing Steve's skeleton-thin figure. Good God, is that Steve Rogers or Jack Skellington? Somebody get that kid a sandwich. A sandwich. I feel like baking this guy a whole bakery. Sato winced at how thin Steve Rogers looked. To Izuku and Bakugo, it looked like they were looking into the past with how scrawny the future Captain America looked like. Izuku had to look and flex his muscles, subtly, just to remind himself of the progress he made ever since he cleaned up Dagoba Beach and so on. In fairness to himself, Izuku never actually just assumed that he could get into UA without a quirk and training. In the past, he tried to work out and improve himself. There was just the unfortunate fact that constant bullying and physical torture to the point that you lose the contents of your stomach every day made it very hard for him to both maintain a fit enough figure. In the end, the only reason why he got physically fit enough to bear one for all, he believed, was because Bakugo had stopped bullying or interacting with him since the sludge villain attacked. And like mimes, the other bullies let off too. He was literally born on the 4th of July. Pony chuckled, amazed. Fitting. Background. Before transformation. Height. 5 foot 4 inch / 1.6 meters. Weight. 95 pounds per 43.1 kilograms. After transformation. Height. 6 foot 2 inch / 1.9 meters. Weight. 220 pounds per 99.8 kilograms. Both parents died early in his life. Won the gold medal in an art contest as a teenager. Was once mutated into Spider King. Secretly a habitual car thief. But his sheer willpower, selflessness, and desire for justice stood out, was noted. As those around him left to serve in the Second World War, Rogers was desperate to fight for his country. But due to his lacking physique and health problems, he was turned away from every single military organization, multiple times. Dear Lord, Recovery Girl paled at how sickly this poor man was. Asthma alone would disqualify him from the armed forces, but the multiple chances of fevers, colds, and heart issues would make him fall over dead on his first mission. Bakugo flinched when his mind started comparing Deku to when they were both in Aldera to Rogers. He flinched even worse when he remembered how easy it was to hit Midoriya's bones and stomach with how scrawny Deku was. Thinking back on how many times he and his goons had left the quirkless boy lying in an alleyway in a pool of his barf, something painfully reenacted in his mind when he saw that man punch Rogers in an alleyway too. As it all came back to him, Bakugo almost spilled his guts on the floor, feeling more nauseous and horrified by his actions than any of the gruesome deaths that Death Battle had shown. Bakugo looked over at All Might, who was looking at Midoriya and seeing the same comparisons he was. The ash-blonde teen remembered their earlier talk today when Midoriya was training with pink cheeks, frog face, and weird arms while he stood to the side with a retired pro. Bakugo was surprisingly unfazed when All Might came clean and said that he knew of his past with Deku, that the explosive teen had bullied his former childhood friend. Though Bakugo noted that All Might didn't know the full extent, otherwise Bakugo bitterly imagined that All Might wouldn't ever speak to him again. All Might asked if Bakugo's willingness to help Midoriya was his way of atoning for his past. Bakugo replied that the nerd wouldn't see it that way. Izuku too forgiving and kind to hold a grudge or too insecure to lash out on it. But even as Bakugo admitted that he had ignored his own weaknesses in favor of demoralizing Deku, both physically and mentally, in jealousy, Bakugo omitted the truth of his feelings, the truth that he was forced to admit. A truth that was spat at him ever since that one fight between Kratos and Spawn. No matter what I do to help him, no matter how much I want or try to atone, there is no atonement for what I've done. Bakugo repeated that thought, remembering that turning his back on Izuku, going from friend to lifelong bully, and those words he tossed mockingly at him that day, was perhaps a worse betrayal than the physical bullying he did for 11 years. As Bakugo wallowed in his self-hate and acceptance, he was unaware of the concerned eyes of a vine-haired holy girl. Meanwhile, Hitler was creating a new group of super Nazis with lasers, called HYDRA, Boomstick revealed, and led by this perpetually flaming hot Cheeto-dusted egomaniac, the Red Skull. Oh wait, I almost forgot that this was apparently in World War II, Aways frowned. How does that even happen? Sen exclaimed at seeing Red Skulls. Well, Red Skull for a head. Desperate to combat this new threat, Uncle Sam began the top-secret project. Rebirth, was said. It looked like Rogers would finally get his chance to be the hero after all. provided he survived an untested, unstable, unprecedented experiment. After an injection of some mystery juice and tanning in Vita rays, Rogers lived, Boomstick exclaimed, and as a plus became a Nazi-annihilating, terrorist-thrashing, symbol of freedom, Captain America. At the sight of the now blonde hunk emerging from his capsule, the male half of the group suddenly felt almost completely inadequate by comparison or murderous jealousy, and the female half all almost stained their clothes from projectile blood from their noses. The only ones who were seemingly unaffected were Kuta, who was simply in awe of the man, and Eri, also in awe but did have a slight blush on her innocent cheeks. Suddenly, a feeling of horror and uncomfortableness washed over Izuku Midoriya, and, unknowingly, another far, far away. "America!" As Boomstick yelled, a bald eagle flew past Cap while fireworks exploded, and guns fired up into the air. "Yep, that's my home country in a nutshell," Melissa chuckled, shaking her head fondly. "Our home country, Melissa," Pony pointed out / comforted. "Our home country. Honestly, Toshi, this guy looks like he could be your younger brother," David chuckled. "Dave, from what I'm seeing, I feel as though I would be the little brother to this guy," All Might admitted. Captain America's theme song played as he proceeded to perform a finishing move on Deadpool. "Damn, that man and that music are so manly," Kirishima roared out, Tetsu joining in with an equal roar. "Gah!" Kyoka hissed at the loudness of the hardheads. "Okay, that's it. If I find that music in my phone's new playlist, I'm banning you from it." Immediately, Kirishima and Tetsu paled and fell onto their knees before Jiro like she was their goddess they angered, pleading and begging for repentance. They would have even kissed her feet if a feeling of dread and promised retribution didn't stop them. Jiro couldn't help but bask in the praise and see her classmates squirm for her approval. But after a pleading look from Mina and Momo, to spare the hard-headed idiots, she let them off the hook. The super soldier serum pushed Steve's body to the absolute limits of human physical and mental potential, was explained. So, Captain America was another guy that was once quirkless but was given his powers like Spider-Man, Mirio pointed out. "I'm telling you, you might as well place your bets in," Kamakiri bragged in his supposed intelligence. "I feel like this is going to bite him in the butt," Setsuna muttered. "Probably," Yui nodded. While they argued, Izuku and All Might shared a glance and knew what the other was thinking. Like Mirio pointed out with Spider-Man, Captain America going from physically weak, powerless nobody to a symbol of freedom and powerhouse reminded them of One for All and its legacy. Much like the Captain, One for All enhanced both Toshinori and Izuku to new heights. But Izuku saw that All Might had a better comparison given how this new power of Rogers was used to fight an evil red-skulled Nazi, while All Might gained One for All to defeat All for One for good. If there was anyone that Izuku thought fit better was perhaps the first user of One for All. He was also seemingly powerless and came from an even earlier age 200 years ago, which would have been at least 60 years after their world's own World War II. Also stood against All for One and his legions of followers and supporters. And One for All was the stockpiling power that it was only because of the stockpile quirk granted forcibly by the hands of All for One himself. "A homeless guy sold me a super serum once," Boomstick pointed out. "I woke up in Denny's a week later without my wallet." Jiro and Momo just face-palmed themselves so hard that they left hand-shaped marks on their faces. Eri Kuta, be smarter than Boomstick, and if a stranger asks you to buy something sketchy, don't. Izuku activated parent mode and warned the two kids. "Okay, Papa." Eri smiled back obediently. Yeah, I know already," Kuta barked back, rolling his eyes and pouting like a child. "You're almost as bad as Mandalay." Mandalay sighed, both tiredly and yet fond of Kuta's pouty attitude. Abilities: adept in all fighting styles, master tactician, multilingual, proficient in all weapons, though he typically only uses his shield, expert acrobat, capable of chi manipulation, can resist all forms of mind control, proficient in driving all kinds of vehicles. Shinso noticed the feat where Rogers could resist all forms of mind control, and wondered if that included his own quirk. If so, then Shinso didn't think he could have any way of going toe-to-toe against this perfect specimen of a man. With his new body, Rogers can bench press 1,100 pounds and run a mile in 73 seconds, was listed his feats. By comparison, the current bench press world record without the aid of a bench shirt is Eric Spoto 722 pounds, and the current fastest mile run belongs to Hisham Garouj of Morocco of 3 minutes 43 seconds. That makes Rogers nearly twice as strong and over 3 times as fast as the most physically fit human beings in the world. And that's just him normally. While those records have already been broken long ago, I believe that the captain would be more than physically capable of besting a lot of us, Girota admitted. Oh, no doubt, Soto nodded. He can even dodge gunfire at point-blank range by, in his own words, seeing faster, Boomstick quoted, slightly confused. Which is the absolute stupidest way of saying that his brain can process images faster than a normal human, was explained. I guess that super soldier serum didn't come with an A+ in grammar, Setsuna snickered. He comes from the times of the 1940s, Tokaige, Ibera pointed out to the fellow Greenette. It was a different, less advanced time. But question, why did they even choose Rogers? Boomstick questioned. I mean, obviously a good choice, but why a small, scrawny dude compared to, say, some already beefed-up soldier? And suddenly, Izuku paused his writing. Time and time again, despite his achievements and reassurances, Izuku was still plagued with constant doubt over why he was chosen as All Might's successor, why he was the one given one for all instead of someone who already had a quirk. If the quirk can make me as strong as I am, what would it have done for Todoroki and Bakugo? What would it have done for Mirio? These were prime examples of his darker, demeaning thought process. When he had passed one for all temporarily to Bakugo at Nabu Island to fight 9. He saw firsthand how strong Bakugo could have been with a quirk. So now, his own demoralizing thoughts had been put into words, and he was now on the edge of his seat, metaphorically speaking, on the answer, as if why Steve was chosen would be the same for him. Well, I'll let the doc himself take it away, was replied before playing a scene. The serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great. Bad becomes worse, Dr. Erskine told to Steve. This is why you were chosen. Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows that value of strength, and knows compassion. The words struck Midoriya harder than he cared to admit. It took everything he had not to start bawling his eyes out in front of everyone, especially Eri and Kuta. He found himself and All Might in Rogers and the doctor's position, as if All Might were speaking those words directly to him. When turning to look at his mentor, he was pleased to find a proud smile. All Might agreed and would have said the same. Izuku nodded at his mentor, and he nodded back, letting their eyes and smiles do the talking. As Midoriya turned back to the screen, subtly trying to wipe his eyes, All Might frowned. Yes, he agreed wholeheartedly with the doctor's words as a similar reason for why he gave Midoriya one for all and named him his successor. And back then when he made the decision there were very few other reasons why, at least none that truly mattered. But something about the doctor's words about what this super soldier serum did, amplifying everything that was already there, rang a dark chord in his mind about One for All. He remembered his notes about the fourth wielder of One for All, a one-Hikage Shinomori, quirk, danger sense. He remembered the limited information he managed to dig up about the reclusive former OFA wielder, and more importantly, the age and reason why he died, of old age at 40, and Yagi knew what was to blame. Comparing that to how he and Midoriya handled One for especially for how long he held the quirk. Toshinori hoped his hypothesis was correct, for Midoriya's sake. Meanwhile, his and Midoriya's hidden and silent exchange wasn't as hidden as the two thought it was, particularly toward a group of girls that caught the whole thing. Putting his new abilities to good use. He's adept in every single form of hand-to-hand combat known to man, Boomstick revealed. That's right, I bet you didn't know that Captain America was a ninja. Jiu-jitsu, Kung Fu, Krav Maga? Iron Fist listed all the martial arts he witnessed and asked. All of the above, Captain America stated, proudly and confidently. Ha, look edgy, he's one of us, Hawk snickered, crossing his arms behind his head smug. Lord Izanagi have mercy. Edgeshot begged/prayed silently to rid him of his suffering. I feel though that there is a distinct difference here compared to Batman, Izuku muttered, a hand on her chin as she thought. Despite his incredible physical potential, the military initially decided Super Steve was best suited as the U.S. Army poster boy, was stated in disbelief himself. That suit looks ridiculous. Ahaha. Miruko burst out laughing. It appears that the idiocy to use such heroes as marketing tools persists in other worlds, Nizu grumbled. Endeavor agreed with the rodent principle, likewise averse to the large amount of marketing that the heroes were forced to participate in to succeed in this highly saturated world of heroism. He respected Eraserhead's opinions regarding the fame and glamour of heroism being unnecessary, even detracting from the full duties and responsibilities of a hero. Part of this sentiment, Endeavor could admit, was perhaps coming from a place of bitterness, given how some of All Might's immutable position as the symbol of peace and #1 hero came from such fame and glamour, while he was the one who stopped the most villains. Yet despite this sentiment, Endeavor knew even without such a bonus, All Might would have still exceeded him through strength and heroism alone. It was an even bitterer pill that Endeavor swallowed to the fullest contents lately. And now, as the #1 hero, the de facto leader of Japan's hero society, Endeavor wished for those among his ranks to be serious and committed to the path of heroism for the right reasons, not for fame and fortune. That suit looks like it was ripped from a patriotic circus, Boomstick said. It was, Wiz replied. Really? Boomstick questioned. Well, at least he upgraded to suits not made for a circus later on. Yeah, that suit looks way better, Kirishima grinned. Looks so manly. The right amount of flair and practicality, Aoyama agreed. No, they were too, Wiz corrected. Excuse me. Hagakure blinked, surprised yet confused. What kind of circus would make a costume with Kevlar, Nomex, and lightweight titanium that's resistant to water, fire, and electric shocks? Boomstick asked. Some call it World War II, Wiz stated. Oh, I get it, Boomstick muttered. Cap's shield, 2.5 feet in diameter, weighs 12 pounds. An unrepeatable combination of proto-adamantium and vibranium. Its proto-adamantium is even stronger than regular adamantium. Absorbs the full blow of any impact. Conducts neither electricity nor heat. Highly aerodynamic. Can only be damaged by tampering with its molecular bonding and cosmic-powered foes. But the most iconic aspect of Cap's attire is his famed shield, was revealed. Composed of proto-adamantium and a mysterious metal from space called vibranium, this one-of-a-kind shield was presented to him personally by none other than the 32nd President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. What an honor, David smiled wide. Whoa, hold up a minute, made of what? Away's questioned. Proto-adamantium and vibranium. Jirota repeated those names, confused. Those are types of metals that I have never heard of before. Well, didn't he say that last one came from space? Kaminari pointed out. A lot of precious metals originally came from space, Kaminari, Ida answered. And they came to Earth at the early stages of the planet's formation through meteorites, like gold and most of the world's iron. It could be suggested here that this vibranium did not come to Earth until much later, or was mostly undiscovered. The heads of Midoriya, Yaoyorozu, Hatsune, and Melissa all perked up like excited meerkats. And like a badass, Cap doesn't just use his shield for defending himself. He hurls that motherfucker at just about anything that moves. Boomstick shouted in amazement. A scene showed Cap hurling his shield onto a patch of leaves and branches, hitting a hidden Hydra soldier and knocking him to the ground in front of all of his troops. Did he just use that shield as a killer frisbee? Ojiro questioned, wide-eyed. Heh, reminds me of how Crust uses his shield quirk, Ryukyu noted. The combination of the two metals allows the shield to absorb and reflect practically all kinetic energy and thus ricochet off multiple targets with only minor loss in velocity, was explained, showing Steve tank a crashing helicopter with the shield and toss it to ricochet off multiple targets, such as hallway to stop a closing door aimed for a retreating Red Skull, off some crates into the back of a Hydra soldier, and the engines of a shield Quinjet for him to catch in the air before performing a superhero landing. Captain America utilizes this in combination with his super soldier mind to predict and calculate the shield's trajectory, so that it always ends up back in hand no matter how many targets it has struck. My, quite the interesting and tactical combination of offense and defense in a historically defensive weapon, Mizu said, his small grin hiding a vast well of curiosity and excitement that was bursting. Amazing! Izuku, not having the same restraint as Mizu, gasped in wonder, before his hands became blurs as he began writing down all the information he could. If their wording is correct and it can absorb all kinetic energy, that's revolutionary. That would mean that if you fired a bullet at it, the bullet wouldn't bounce off the shield. It would simply lose all momentum and energy and just fall to the ground. But that defies the laws of physics. Momo's eyes danced with the newly discovered possibilities. If it is truly 100% vibration absorbent as it suggests, then it would be stronger than every vibration absorbent known to man. And all from a shield that's only 2.5 feet in diameter. And the way it can ricochet off those objects is amazing. Melissa exclaimed as eyes were alit with stars. With the three of them in La La Land because of this medal, the rest of the girls and guys had to pick up Izuku's slack and restrain Hatsum before she tackled the device into giving her more information. Cap's shield can reflect anything from bullets to lasers, decapitate vampires, and stop a blow from Thor's hammer. Boomstick revealed the shield's feats. And if you recall, Mjolnir doesn't fuck around. This giant frisbee of freedom is so cool. Even Superman wants one. It can take a hit from Thor's hammer. Kaminari exclaimed, wide-eyed that the planet destroyer of a hammer could be blocked by such a shield. And now, Bakugu was among those that were being held back into his seat from rushing the device. Peggy Carter picked up a gun and started shooting bullets at Cap's shield. The bullets not just stopped by the shield but fell uselessly on the ground, slack. As Steve looked up in slight terror at the woman, Peggy Carter smiled. Yes, I think it works, Peggy simply said. Badass, Setsuna smiled, respecting the woman's spunk. Such a metal would be more than just revolutionary. It would change the very course of human history. David gasped in pure wonder. Imagine armor that can withstand an entire army's worth of bullets without so much as a scratch. But could such metals even exist? Power Loader questioned. I haven't ever heard of such things on Earth before. Package received. The device suddenly paused the video and spoke. Messenger codename Zayden. Would you like to receive? The group was stunned at the sudden act of the mysterious entity yet again. The girls noticeably tensed, especially Jiro, as the very being that was the cause of so much stress, confusion, and shock last night. If he was to be believed, Jiro knew that whatever Zayden was doing was for their benefit in the long run. Examples being the lightsaber manual and even a box of videos for Eri. But the Watcher of the Multiverse was still cryptic and mysterious to them all, especially for showing her and the girls that video detailing all of Izuku's feats and the ever-growing mystery behind him and his quirk. After silent and contemplative looks, Mizu answered with, affirmative. Immediately, the logo of Death Battle on the forward-facing side of the box spun around once, splitting in two, opening up and making way for a camera lens to pop out. It's the same way that it materialized the papers and lightsaber crystals, Power Loader noted. Hard light matter shaping and formalization, David named the technology, still in awe at the notion, let alone the display and actions. Blue light began emitting from the light, forming just before Momo, who nearly jumped in shock. Grid-like holographic light formed and grew in front of her before finally it ended, and from it, a stack of papers floated gently down to her lap. On top of the stack of papers was an envelope. Much easier to send than the lightsaber blueprints. After all, unlike them, this does exist in your universe. Enjoy. Zayden, Momo read. After taking a moment to process the Watcher's words, she looked over the stack of papers. The more she read, the more her eyes widened and her jaw dropped. Eventually, she looked toward the principal and said, these notes detail the molecular structure and the means to create our own vibranium. The notes were almost immediately snatched from Yoroz's hands, but not by May or Melissa as expected, but instead by David Shield, who looked over and examined the papers like a madman. It was only after doing this for a minute did he realize what he just did. Apologies, Miss Yorozu, for my sudden actions. I forgot myself. David apologized. It is quite all right, Mr. Shield. Yorozu offered a kind smile. I imagine I'd do much the same in your shoes. Yorozu wasn't wrong that she would have done the same. Even now, the young heiress could still feel that pull, that desire to absorb the contents of the papers, to pore over and memorize the very molecular structure of this newly discovered metal and create it herself. She recognized that feeling as the same she had when she studied overnight in her earlier youth on all the elements of the periodic table. It was almost like an itch. The group decided it best to discuss this more after the video's completion, Nizu volunteering to safeguard it under his care to not distract Yorozu, the shields, or anyone else. Or at least any further than a stack of papers detailing all about potentially one of the most scientifically significant discoveries in human history already. But it's not unstoppable, it's been damaged, and even destroyed its fair share of times over the years, was pointed out. But only by cosmic or reality warping powers. So, the metals aren't completely indestructible. Izuku made a note of that. But with the amount of force it can take and its kinetic absorption capabilities, it needs to be attacked on the molecular level, likely to destroy those unique bonds that give the shield as much invincibility it has. So, if there's a will, there's a way. Bakugo grinned devilishly. No offense, Bakubro, but I don't think even you could match that kind of power, man. Kirishima tried calming the excited Bakugo down. Just watch me, shitty hair, was the typical Bakugo response. Feats. Survived being frozen in ice for 70 years. Can run almost 50 miles per hour per 80.5 kilometers. Caught a torpedo with his bare hands. Threw the Hulk off his feet. Jumps 20 to 30 feet. Drops from airplanes at crushing altitude into water without a parachute. No problem. Worthy enough to wield Mjolnir and tie with Thor in combat. Defeated his evil Hydra clone of himself. Luckily, Mr. America doesn't rely only on his shield, Boomstick noted. He's boxed Thor to a standstill, survived being frozen in ice for over 70 years, was deemed worthy to wield Mjolnir, and has even managed to incapacitate the Hulk with his knowledge of pressure points, was listed Cap's amazing feats. Ah, so he can match up to my counterpart in combat. All Might grinned. Impressive. I'm sorry. Did he say that he survived being an icicle for 70 years? Pixie Bob exclaimed, befuddled. How? That is rather significant, Recovery Girl admitted. The problem of complete cryogenic stasis is that the extreme cold will cause the heart to cease pumping the necessary blood for other vital bodily functions to fail, ceasing the flow of oxygen and resulting in tissue and organ failure. Even so much as staying in such temperatures for a day and surviving would be a miracle in itself. But for 70 years is absurd. Todoroki stared at his right hand, knowing full well of the dangers that come with as much power as he had over his cold half. He even threatened one of the villains at the USJ to tell him their plans for All Might or face a similar fate to what Recovery Girl described. I suppose this has to do with his biology as a super soldier, Melissa suggested. Perhaps his body was able to keep flowing blood and oxygen in his body while the ice perfectly preserved him and supplied him with all the oxygen he needed to survive without food or water. Wait, go back to that second one. Boomstick exclaimed as a slideshow of 3 images showed Captain America handing the unjolly green giant his ass. Boomstick brought the slideshow back to the second one. Did this guy just kick the Hulk in the dick? You've got to be a real man to give the green Goliath a nut check. I mean, that's the fastest way to piss off a dude. And who don't we like when they're angry? Balls of steel right there. Great big, eagle-shaped, freedom balls of steel. Okay, TMI, Sin called a timeout. I mean, I can admit this man is like Adonis of a man, but I draw the line at imagining the guy's balls in any way, much less eagle-shaped ones. Honestly, this guy would make any dude's dick go hard, Mineta admitted. Looking around to see him getting looks from the group, he clarified. Look, it's not like I'm gay or anything, it's just something you have to admit. It's not even a sexual thing. It's just your dick acknowledging the alpha male in the room. Can I please blow this motherfucker's brains out? Bakugo asked. highly tempted to blast Mineta's face with explosions until it was covered in soot. Easy, young Bakugu. All Might calmed the explosive Pomeranian down. And to top everything off, not many superheroes can claim to have defeated the fearsome foursome of crack, weed, ice, and Ms. Fix. The literal personifications of actual street drugs, was revealed. So, you're telling me he's preaching an anti-drug message, knowing that drugs are the entire reason he became awesome? Boomstick questioned, stunned. I guess we can add hypocrite to his list of aliases, was figured. Wouldn't exactly be new for an American, Kamakiri muttered as he went in for a sip of his drink. Hey, lay off, Shoda muttered, swatting the taller teen with a light backward smack. Hypocrisy isn't exactly an American-only trait. I guess, Kamakiri shrugged. After all, look at Monoma. That actually caused a laugh to come out of Shoda while Monoma's ears burned. Despite being a physically perfect human, Captain America more or less has the same weaknesses as any other man, was continued with Cap's weaknesses, such as getting stabbed by the Winter Soldier. His patriotic uniform can only protect him so much from stabbing weapons. That might be important for his fight against Batman, Ajui pointed out. Even though both of them are in their physical prime beyond that of a normal man, they both can still be hurt and killed like a normal man. And sniper bullets, God knows he gets killed pretty good by those. Boomstick jumped in before beginning a mocking imitation. Weapons. My only weakness. Did you? No. Well, I guess that's what the shield's for, right? Zero let out an awkward chuckle at the sudden grim shift. Even in the face of death, losing his super soldier serum, or having to overthrow his evil Hydra clone, Captain America always stands for what the United States needs, was claimed. And sometimes that's serving Hitler an American-sized knuckle sandwich, Boomstick declared. Lucky, Melissa pouted. Who are you supposed to be? Gabriel Jones questioned. I'm Captain America, Cap declared, panting. The Sentinel of Liberty gave an overall more positive impact on the group compared to the Dark Knight. Whether it had been because they were already familiar with the Caped Crusader from his previous fight, or that the first Avenger appeared more idealistic compared to the Vigilante, Captain America still gave off an aura of inspiration and awe that reminded the students and heroes of All Might. Even the former symbol of peace felt inspired by the super soldier and felt, and hoped, that if they ever met that they would have gone along great on their stances of freedom and liberty. Alright, the combatants are set. Wiz began the intro for the fight. Let's end this debate once and for all. It's time for a death batt. Boomstick shouted out loud. As the device scanned for counterparts, the group was left to vote among themselves on who would win. And quite the difficult choice it was for most of them. Most especially for the likes of Izuku and Melissa. For the latter blonde inventor, Captain America was like the perfect idealized take on her dream. A weak person with no power but with a heart of gold and determination to become an amazing, inspiring hero and symbol, much like her Uncle Might. And it helped that the man was unbashful in his patriotism and American pride. And yet Batman still left an impression on her, taking on a more real and obtainable version of her dream. He was 100% superpowerless, unlike the captain who was granted his powers by the serum. He used his intelligence, technology, and hard work to become the hero he was, and stood among and against the best his world had to offer and prove that he could do anything they can do and even better. It was a conflict that pulled and tore at her, but not as much as it did for Izuku Midoriya, who was at an even bigger loss on who to choose. For Batman, he was the encapsulation of his dream for so long, a quirkless hero that could stand among giants, that could be a symbol for others like All Might was to their world, and could achieve all this through sheer hard work, training, determination, and his intellect. It was something to hit very personal to a boy that only had such intelligence and determination to speak of compared to the superpowers of everyone around him. And yet Captain America felt like looking into a mirror. Another powerless man who was turned down and rejected by the group he so longed to join, was found and given a chance to prove his worth, and did so with his sheer willpower, and was granted a power that made him the hero he was today. Midoriya felt once more torn between the hero that accomplished his dream and the hero that reflected his own life. In the end, both teenagers decided to simply not vote, unable to pick between one or the other without betraying a part of themselves. As for the rest of the group, those that ended up choosing the world's greatest detective once more included Tokoyami and Kowaro. And they didn't need to say, revelry in the dark, for the others to know why. May and Power Loader, who held none of the conflicting baggage that Melissa had in choosing for a mostly tech-based superhero. Momo, still riding on Batman's intellect and their similar rich background, and Kuta, who still respected the fellow orphan, even as Cap was an orphan as well, and simply said, double or nothing. Itsuka likewise decided to still vote for the Dark Knight, yet kept her reasoning to herself, muttering something about adeptness versus mastery. In contrast to the previous death battle with Batman, Ida, Kyoka, Shoji, and Mineta voted for the Bat-themed vigilante, the first over sympathizing with the vigilante's pain and thirst for vengeance, despite his rather illegal methods. Kyoka and Shoji for Batman's triangulating simulation tech and detective vision, and Mineta because Batman earned his jealousy and respect for having so many girlfriends. Kaminari would also vote for the Gotham Knight, sold on his shock gloves and the ideas that Midoriya inspired him with. Finally, Hawks would vote for the guy, making a joke that he liked the hero more for his theme being around another flying creature and he liked his broodiness. But secretly the winged hero pitted the billionaire orphan and saw a little bit of himself and his idol, Endeavor, in the vigilante. As for Captain America, his most significant supporters were All Might, who in truth related more to the Captain than Batman in their stance on being symbols and one for all similar traits to the super soldier serum, Kirishima and Tetsu, for how super manly and tough Cap and his shield were, and Eri, who liked the more bright and heroic-looking hero, saying he reminded her of her papa, to said papa's blushing. Cap's shield was also a selling point for David's shield, who likewise struggled in his decision, but the symbol of freedom looking so much more like the symbol of peace he was friends with was what truly sold him. Shota voted for the Sentinel of Liberty, amazed and inspired by the American-themed hero's brilliant trajectory-calculating mind, Ojiro and Sen for his martial arts, and Todoroki, both for the surviving in Ice Feet and how much Captain America felt like All Might and Izuku in one. Obviously, Kamakiri voted for the first Avenger for his previously stated reasons. And even Bakugo was forced to choose the one that appeared and felt more like his idol, All Might, and the indestructible shield. Mirio and Tamaki would also vote for the man out of time for his determination, aura of inspiration and awe, and his heroic glow to him. But as the group finished voting, they made note that the device was still scanning. Why is it taking so long? Kaminari asked. I mean, it usually finishes by the time we are done voting, right? Yeah. Is it busy trying to find one for Captain America? Sato asked further. I mean, we already know Mr. Aizawa is Batman's counter-dash. Multiversal counterpart detected. Bruce Wayne aka Batman. The device stated as it finished its analysis. Multiversal counterpart number 2. Izuku Midoriya. Huh, was the general reaction to that sudden revelation. Izuku was so surprised and taken aback that he accidentally drew a large line across the pages of his notebook. The hell? How is Shitty DKU Batman's counterpart? Didn't that dumb machine already say Aizawa was Batman? Bakugo roared, pissed off for both the almost blatant Deku favoritism and not being Batman himself. The device decided to reply to Bakugo's tantrum with a series of images, ranging from the images of Aizawa, Midoriya, and Batman, to a pie chart graph with a series of numbers and percentages tied to it. Updated systems now comprise counterpart probability feature. Feature helped identify Izuku Midoriya as second probable counterpart to Batman. Oh yeah, that was one of the things that the device was part of the update earlier, Achiko remembered. Along with some AI soul comparison feature too, Kyoka added. In the multiverse, there are numerous versions of individuals, both here and the related universes of the videos. The device continued in its reverberating monotone voice. In these universes, the individuals could include key differences ranging from personality, history, relations, and skills. These traits can translate to possessing an entirely different counterpart that better fits the behavioral, ability, backstory, and relational comparisons. Any idea what any of that means? Cozy Eye scratched his head. "'Cause I'm like totally lost here." Simplified, the device is stating that not every version of one of our previously stated counterparts may necessarily be our counterpart in another universe where they may have led a different life or experienced a different set of circumstances that changed who they are, who they know, and what they have experienced, Nizu stated. Relating to this, it must mean that not every version of Batman is related to Aizawa, and that some of these versions are instead connected to Izuku Midoriya. Is that about right? Yes. Affirmative. The device replied, showing a closer look at the pie chart graph. With 5 currently existing slices, each one thinner than the last one. The previous counterpart identification systems were calibrated to scan and detect the counterpart with the most likely chance and record of connection. The counterpart probability feature helps to identify further counterparts that are recorded to be connected to the individual. So, despite there being an infinity number of universes, there are current finite numbers where Mr. Aizawa is Batman and others where Izuku is Batman instead? Momo guessed. But then since the multiverse is said to be infinite, meaning it is constantly making more universes, then the probability also relates to the chances either Aizawa or Midoriya becomes their counterpart. David added. Correct. The device answered, showing each slice of the graph one after another. Counterpart probability for Shuta Aizawa aka Eraserhead as Batum stands at 35%. Counterpart probability for Izuku Midoriya as Batman ranges to 30%. Well, I'll be, Snipe chuckled, adjusting his hat. Seems to me that in terms of these universes our Aizawa and Midoriya are like brothers or something. Midnight burst out giggling, wishing now that Aizawa was here to see the look on his face when he heard that. So, I guess you are also Batman, huh, Midobro? Kirishima smiled brightly. Isn't that manly? Izuku was at a loss for words, his mind swirling with not just the fact that he was Batman like Mr. Aizawa, but that this new feature means a whole new avenue of possibilities when it comes to counterparts and the science and logic behind the multiverse. Still though, the knowledge that in another lifetime he had managed to fulfill his dream of becoming a quirkless hero, one as great and awesome as Batman, was almost enough to bring him to tears again. Yeah, it really is. Izuku smiled back just as brightly. Hey, what about those other slices? Bakugo spoke up, pointing toward the last 3 smaller slices in the graph. Those are other counterpart probabilities, right? So, who are they? Counterpart probability of 20 and 10% saved for future analysis and videos. The device responded. Last 5% categorized currently as other. Bakugo scoffed, unpleased that the device denied him the information. Does that mean that there are more death battle videos with Batman in it? Itsuka questioned. Wow, that either means that this guy is so similar to a lot of other guys or Wiz and Boomstick have a hard-on for him, Setsuna dryly said. Steven Rogers aka Captain America. Multiversal counterpart number 1. Error. Prime multiversal counterpart unable to be announced. The device ceased its announcement when a big, large sensor bar with red lines covered the entire screen. What the why? Komakiri yelled in outrage. Izuku turned to see All Might and found his mentor staring right back at him, the two of them thinking the same thing. It's one of the users of One for All. It had to be one of them, or at least one of them that the group couldn't know, unlike Nana Shimura. The two remembered when Izuku was provided the shielding for his episodes and asked the device to censor any mentions of One for All to the group. And now it appears that censoring is paying off. The question now, though, is which of the users it was. Izuku thought. He knew it obviously couldn't be All Might himself or Shimura, as the device had no issue showing the 3 of them even after the requested censoring, so that left the other 6 users, including Lariat, the original holder of Black Whip and the 5th user. From the notes he got from All Might about the previous users, the only other user he had a name to put was the 6th user, and that left the 4th user who Izuku noticed his name and everything about him was crossed out, something he wanted to discuss with All Might, but let it slide back then. Then there were also the 2nd and 3rd users, the ones where Izuku didn't even know what they looked like, much less their names, and ones All Might said he couldn't manage to get considering how far long ago they were and the chaos that the dawn of quirks had upon society. And finally, the 1st user, the man with the long white hair, All for One's brother and the originator of One for All. And yet, despite knowing how he looked and even the quirk he once carried, his name was still a mystery to both the 8th and 9th wielder of his quirk. Though, if Izuku felt that if any one of them had to be Captain America, it would most likely be the first. All Might at least managed to tell him that the first was a courageous and heroic soul despite his frailty and lack of strength compared to his brother, which fit with Rogers's backstory. And the verdant-haired teen could at least speculate that then One for All must have been compared to the super soldier serum. Izuku had felt a wave of gratitude surge in him, and the boy knew that it must have come from the first's vestige. "You're welcome," Izuku thought back. He didn't get a response, but he knew he got it. Meanwhile, despite the efforts of the device's censoring, May's eyes widened when she spotted the face of the counterpart of their world, and immediately recognized it. After all, she saw his face last night. Just as the censor bar began to overtake the screen, she spotted the pale, long white-haired face of that man from the music video Zayden had her and the sisterhood watch. The man that they saw getting tortured somehow by All for One in his younger state. The one that appeared alongside muscles that looked like a ghost. "Well, if you can't reveal the first counterpart, can you reveal any others?" Mandalay asked, noting how the device said counterpart number 1. "Affirmative. Multiversal counterpart number 2. Toshinori Yagi aka All Might," the device declared before another image came up. "Multiversal counterpart number 3. Izuku Midoriya. Of course, why the hell not?" Bakugo grumbled jealously. "But wait, don't Deku and All Might already have counterparts in that universe?" Uraraka questioned. "Yeah, Green's was Spider-Man while All Might's was Thor," Kyoka confirmed. "Yes, but remember what the device said with Batman's counterparts, that sometimes there are differences between universes where the same characters exist where they will have a different counterpart," Momo pointed out. "So, this must mean that Izuku and All Might are Steven Rogers in different versions of that Marvel universe. Honestly, this is already so complicated that my brain's starting to fry." Mina rubbed her forehead. "You and me both, girl." Hagakure mimicked her best friend's actions. "Me 3, Kaminari groaned, his face shifting from regular to dunce mode while comical sparks came out of his head. Choosing to spare their brain cells from any further damage, the group decided to unpause the video and begin the death battle. Yet at times, Hawks and Endeavor would send side eyes to both Midoriya and All Might, each wondering if they perhaps have something to do with this sudden censoring. The scene opened at an alleyway at night, trash and cardboard littering the sides, the walls sprayed with graffiti. Captain America dropped by the street lamp, looking down the alleyway, ready. The scene turned into the shadowy, unseeable darkness of the alley. Then light peeked out of the darkness, in the shape of the white, piercing glare of the Batman. "Oh, Jesus!" Cozy Eye shivered. "If I saw that, I'd shit my pants and run as far away as I can. I think if you already see his eyes, there's no point in running, you're already toast." Setsuna grinned, excited to see how this second battle for Batman will go down now that his counterpart was Greenie. Revelry in the dark. Tokoyami and Korwaro muttered in awe of the man who became the darkness itself. Batman stepped out of the shadows, his full appearance clearer as he approached the Avenger slowly, taking a combative stance. Cap responds similarly, the two waiting for the other to strike. "Ah, I like what they did there," Zero pointed out, raising his hands, framing the screen in a rectangle with his hands as he studied the scene. "They have Batman's side of the alley all in shadows because he is all about that. And they have Captain America's more lit up for his more flashy, shiny look and symbolism. No one cares about you geeking out over the cinematography. Weird arms." Bakugo snapped at Zero, impatient. "Just shut up so that the fight can start." "Geez, I thought the kid was loud when I met him during their internship with you." Hawk spoke to Endeavor as he cleaned out his ears. "Is he always like this?" "Unfortunately, /yes, /pretty much, /you'll get used to it." Endeavor, Edge Shot, Ryukyu, and Miruko all said respectively. "Fight." Captain America instantly throws his shield at Batman, the caped crusader smacking it away with a swipe from his black cape. The shield ricochet, with Cap sprinting and leaping to catch the shield in midair. Twisting his body seamlessly, Steve raised the shield and brought it down onto Bruce with a downward strike, Wayne blocking the hit again with his gauntlet-armored wrist. Impressive, Momo analyzed, nodding. Rogers figured that Batman would have blocked the shield and ricocheted off of him, leading to the perfect opportunity to close the distance between them and get in close. He must have also eyeballed the speed at which the shield was sailing from his previous throw to be able to jump and catch it easily. Good battle tactics, Snipe nodded. Normally, with an unknown and dangerous foe, especially Batman, it's better to keep your distance. But the captain has the greater strength with a super soldier serum and impenetrable defenses with his shield to make a headlong approach safer. Midori, please write that down, Mina pointed at Cap's acrobatic show. That will work so well for when I'm jumping off of a slide with my quirk. Good eye, Mina. Izuku nodded and wrote that down, smiling, glad to see that despite the awkwardness the girls were showing to him that they can still interact with him like this. Back on solid ground and in front of the vigilante, Rogers pressed his attack with a straight right hook that the Justice Leaguer blocked as well, before sending out strike after strike, pummeling through Batman's defense with punches, kicks, and strikes with his shield. The Dark Knight blocked, ducked, and evaded the first few attacks before a smack across the face with a shield broke through his guard. The Avenger continued the attack with accurate attacks all over the darker hero's body. Man, he's just pummeling the guy, Sin grinned, mimicking the captain's attacks as if to memorize them. And with his enhanced strength and pressure point combat style, those hits must be doing significant damage, Ojiro nodded. Regaining his guard, Batman began evading the first Avenger's attacks in rapid succession, before countering with a powerful kick. The Sentinel of Liberty absorbed the blow with his shield yet was still sent back up the alleyway. Batman quickly threw out 3 batarangs at the Marvel hero, the bat-shaped shurikens deflecting off the vibranium shield. Impressive recovery from Batman to be able to pick up with Rogers' pace and evade his strikes, Edgeshot complimented. And he knows that he needs to push the captain back and put him on the defensive to come up with a quick enough plan. Wait, I thought that shield was able to absorb all kinetic energy from an attack, Jiro pointed out, her jacks wiggling as she heard the ringing of the strike. So, then how did Cap get pushed back? Maybe after the kick, Batman used some more force to push Captain American back with his foot, Nijire suggested. The two were still for a moment, so that could have been when Batman added that push. Cap threw out his shield again, Batman flipping over the shield this time before firing his grappling hook at the shieldless hero. However, Cap caught the grappling hook with one hand by the back of the claw, standing firmly in place. Meanwhile, the Avenger's shield bounced off the wall at the back of the alley, hitting Batman in the back of his head. Ouch, that's going to leave a mark. Pixie Bob rubbed the back of her head like she felt the hit. Batman learned from the last time and was able to predict how fast the shield could fly in time to jump over it, but he didn't know of the full extent of Cap's ricochet skills and didn't anticipate that, Shota analyzed. I'm guessing that Cap grabbed the grappling because he saw it faster, Kaminari said the last part in air quotes. Pretty much, Mineta nodded, looking closely at how Cap fought, wondering if he could learn to better his fighting style of bouncing off his balls from the ricocheting master that was the Avenger. Cap yanked the cord and sprinted forwards, racing to get the shield as it and Batman sailed toward him in slow motion. As he retrieved the shield, Captain America slammed the shield onto Batman's chest, knocking the world's greatest detective onto the back wall of the alleyway. This isn't going well, Kaminari muttered, worried over his fighter's chances to win the fight. Come on, Batman. Coulda cheered for his fighter. Turn that red, white, and blue boy scout black and blue. I think he's been learning too much from Bakugu, Mandalay muttered, a motherly sense of concern flaring up for her nephew and his impressionable mind. Ah, ease off, Shino. Pixie Bob patted her friend on the back. You know Kuda's always been like that anyways. Don't get too paranoid. You know, for someone who wants kittens of her own, I would imagine you should first start by learning how to be motherly and more protective, Mandalay retorted. Pixie Bob fired a glare at her team leader but left it at that for now. Batman activates his shock gloves, electrical currents sparking off the black, spiked gauntlets. Batman rushed up to the Marvel hero, striking at the raised shield, the electricity sparking uselessly against it. Unfortunately, those shock gloves aren't doing much damage against a shield like that, Ryukyu noted. And even if he managed to hit the guy instead, those two guys did say that Cap's suit was resistant to electric shocks? Hagakure asked. You forgot, Rookie, that they also said that those shock gloves have enough charge to penetrate Kevlar, like what Rogers' suit is made out of, Miruko responded. Cap pushed Bats back, the Dark Knight dropping and spreading pellets along the floor. Izuku perked up at the pellets, raising his notebook in anticipation. Let's finish this, Captain America declared, while Batman readied himself. The Star-Spangled Man rushed forward, his shield out for an attack. Hyper dash. Batman tossed a smoke bomb on the ground, clouding the scene in thick smoke. As it cleared, it showed only Cap, his shield striking the cracked wall with no Dark Knight in sight. Aha! Captain America might be a ninja, but he just got out ninja'd from a ninja that trained with a League of Ninjas. Kaminari exclaimed, grinning widely. Stop saying ninja or I'll knock you out again, Jiro warned. Kaminari raised his eyes in surrender. Rogers looked back to see where Batman had gone. At that moment, the smoke bombs that littered the ground detonated, covering the entire alleyway in a thick sea of smoke. He's using the darkness as his most valuable asset, Edgeshot nodded, approving of the stealth play of the DC hero. Well, you and I would know, wouldn't we, ninja bro? Hawks teased, wrapping an arm around the shinobi hero's shoulders. Remove your arm from my person at once, Edgeshot grumbled. Bakugu narrowed his eyes at the scene. While he still held a distaste for stealth and hit-and-run tactics, preferring a head-on approach as both his preferred and favorable approach given the explosive and loud nature of his quirk, he also knew the similar obscuring benefits that his quirk could provide, such as how he blinded Deku with the smoke from his explosion while he vaulted over and struck him from behind. If he could generate enough explosions, he figured he could likewise cover an area in smoke to strike at a foe more stealthily, especially one that may have a quirk that would make his incompatible. Cap looked around, attempting to see past the obscuring smoke, before managing to evade Batarang at the last minute. As it flew by his head, Cap threw his shield from where the Batarang came from, the shield disappearing into the fog. Captain America waited while nothing happened, the shield not returning as expected. Finally, he got his shield back, tossed onto the ground before him, covered in explosive gel in the shape of a bat. It's the explosive gel, Pony shouted, alarmed. That was a rather reckless move for the captain to simply toss his shield into a fog of smoke to where the Batarang flew from, Tiger explained. Yeah, like, it could have come from a different angle where Batman tossed it and had it curved to throw him off, Ragdoll added. And even though Cap can see faster than a normal human, Batsy can see through the smoke clearly with his detective vision. And with his analysis skills, he could have caught the shield easily, sprayed the gel, and toss it back to Cap, Melissa finished, smiling. Sounds like something a certain someone would do. Melissa nudged Izuku's shoulder, a teasing smile on her face. Izuku blushed but smiled back. Oh come Melissa, you're giving me too much credit. Izuku rubbed at his neck, embarrassed. Mr. Aizawa is also Batman's counterpart and could do that just as much as I could. Melissa blinked, surprised. Normally, Izuku's humbleness, while adorable and admirable, wasn't much of a surprise, if not a little frustrating that the boy couldn't simply take a compliment. But after the recent events of the video showing all of Midoriya's achievements, his strength, and the secrets he held from them, such humbleness was more surprising than she cared to admit. That's when it clicked to Melissa, and the rest of the girls by proxy, that despite all that they had seen and suspected, despite the air of awkwardness, suspicion, and slight hurt they felt at the secrecy, this was still the same Izuku Midoriya, the humble, kind, selfless soul that they all fell for, and whatever they saw didn't change that, but rather highlighted how truly amazing he was. Whatever he must be keeping secret from them must be important and was in his right to either keep it secret or share it. Never change, Izuku, Melissa replied fondly, smiling lovingly at him. Never change. Izuku's blush and smile only grew with equal love shown back. Wasn't planning on it. The ensuing explosion stunned Captain America, stumbling and clutching his head, woozy. Batman leaped in, striking multiple times with his knowledge of pressure points at Cap's vulnerable areas. As soon as the symbol of freedom collapsed to his knees, Batman stalked toward the slightly darkened shield, grabbed it, and stalked behind Cap. "Wow, what a flex," Sato noted, respecting the confidence in the Dark Knight to be walking so slowly away and back to his opponent with his own shield. Shit. Kamakiri cursed inwardly, sweat drops running down his head. Before Cap could regain his senses, Batman knocked Cap into the sky with the shield, firing his grappling hook again, the cord wrapping violently around Cap's neck. Finally, the cord lands on the lamppost, jerking suddenly and breaking the Star-Spangled Hero's neck instantly. The symbol of freedom hung above the street, limp. "No! Goddammit!" Kamakiri exploded, stomping around in angry defeat. "Jesus, that went dark!" Rin rubbed at his neck, surprisingly more horrified at the sudden hanging than a lot of the more gory endings. He wasn't alone, as those who weren't celebrating Batman's victory, or groaning at Cap's defeat, were also similarly rubbing their necks. Even Izuku, who was glad to see one of his counterparts win, especially the quirkless one, seeing his other counterpart, and technically All Might's too, getting hung was rather morbid to the ninth wielder of OFA, especially when he rubbed his neck and the phantom feeling of Shigaraki's hand on his neck itched on his skin. "Revelry in the dark," Tokoyami, Korwaro, and Reiko said simultaneously. "And right on cue," Setsuna snickered. "Yo." Batman throws the shield at the hanging Captain America, slicing off the bottom half of his body, before throwing a smoke pellet into the ground and disappearing into the night. "Okay, that was unnecessary," Pony whined, pouting. "Got to make sure, right?" Awais said, more of a question than anything. "I pledge allegiance to the Cap, hanging miserably from the light post," Boomstick bemoaned sadly. "Haha, okay, that got me," Mina admitted. Captain America did have the endurance and power advantage, and Batman himself has admitted he could lose a hand-to-hand match against him, was stated, showing Batman interacting with Cap prior. "But there's a big difference between could and would. I could survive a fall out of an airplane, but I wouldn't bet on it," Boomstick gave an example. "Unless you're doing it, Wiz, you should totally try it. $5 if you make it. Don't even think about it, you idiots," Bakuga said, not bothering to turn to know that Kirishima and Tetsu were just about to accept that dare. "You're an idiot, Boomstick," was snapped back at his co-host. "Also, the fact is, Batman is more than a boxer. His stealth and disarming skills allowed him to turn the fight in his favor. Yes, while Captain America was a better straightforward fighter with his excellent defense and offense, Batman used evasion and his adaptability to his advantage. Not to mention the gadgets." Boomstick jumped back in. "Just because Cap could see faster doesn't mean he can see hard enough to spot bats through a solid wall of smoke. Batman also regularly battles and sneaks around super beings far above your average laser Nazi," Wizard stated. "If he can ninja around Superman's super hearing, there's no reason he can't do the same to Captain America," Boomstick noted. Simply put, Batman's more dangerous list of enemies he's faced, and feats were greater than Captain America's, Ryukyu summarized. "And of course, Batman has more knowledge of pressure points and fighting styles, because he's mastered all of them, rather than simply being adept," was explained the important distinction, helping him incapacitate and finish off the Star-Spangled Soldier. "Yep, I knew that was going to make the difference," Itsuka smiled proudly. "Adeptness may be better than full mastery if the former has more skills to his belt, but when they have roughly the same number of martial arts, mastery triumphs in the end. Captain America just couldn't hang in there," Boomstick punned. "God damn it," Setsuna face-palmed. "I should have known that was what he was going to come up with." Nijire and Amajiki rolled their eyes as they saw Mirio pull out the notebook he borrowed from Izuku for his jokes and began writing that down. "The winner is Batman," was announced. Claps of congratulations came up from the group, with respectful and conceding nods thrown in for good measure from the losing side. "Heh, that was fun," Hawks grinned. "I see why you guys are so interested in videos. You know, other than the whole learning new skills and potential enemies stuff. You staying for the whole ride, Wings?" Maruko asked. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have to stay to make sure which one of us has the more ninja counterparts. Hawks wrapped another arm around a fuming Edge shot. And see if there is more to the League, the PLF, and that doctor for us to learn. Maybe even the perfect avenue to find the evidence we need. Despite what the device had shown them, Nizu and Hawks agreed that it wouldn't be enough to launch a full investigation and operation against the suspended doctor of the League. This information was coming from a device that claimed to have come from the multiverse and simply showed names, images, and connections. And the former alone was enough to be dismissed as simply crazy. The best we got is that the doctor has multiple suspected aliases, including the one he used as Midoriya's quirk doctor, and that could be ground enough for a small looking into. But our best chance currently is Kurogiri, Hawks thought, remembering what Nizu told him about Aizawa's and Mick's visit to Tartaros and their meeting with the Mist villain. If they can wrangle something out of him, then it could be the break I need to find that doctor and figure out a way to neutralize him and the League. Hawks' thought turned toward a certain black and white suited villain with the heart of a good guy underneath. And maybe end this conflict without the blood I need to spill. Honestly, we should have expected Batman to win this one in the first place, Rin shrugged. I mean, it would have been rather humiliating to just lose another match so soon after the last one. Kamakiri grumbled, still not pleased that he was made the fool for his overt support of Captain America's victory. Ahem, the mantis-like teen heard and looked to see Setsuna's head and hands floating next to him. A smug smirk and raised eyebrow adorned on her face while her hands directed him to her. Pay up, Mr. Confidence. Kamakiri grumbled again, before reluctantly giving the greenette her money. Izuku smiled, glad that Setsuna won her bet and that she was confident in his counterpart's victory, or at least one of them. Izuku turned toward Melissa, who was also smiling for Batman's victory, and their eyes met. The two instantly knew what the other was thinking. They were both conflicted about who to vote for between two heroes that they could relate to. And while they felt bad about the other losing to see Batman, their first exposure to a hero without superpowers, the victor still brought proud smiles to their faces. Izuku raised a fist toward Melissa. Melissa's smile grew, raising her fist and bumping it with Izuku's. Next time on Death Battle, Boomstick began the announcement for the next matchup. The black screen gave way to a brown-haired man, his gloved hand removing a book from a shelf while the light from the window lit the dark room. I have a guide here that will show you how to live from now on, the man said, turning around for the group to see more of his military attire, showing a card in his fingers. May blinked her eyes before rubbing them. Wait a minute, is that? And does that mean that? May's mouth began to morph into a feral grin. The wall slowly opened to reveal a blinding white light. The two men slowly craning up to see the large figure of a large winged robot, with a whip of sharp blades in all its glory. Activating, the eyes of the mecha glowed green. It's a motherfucking Gundam. Kirishima, Kaminari, and Zero all exclaimed. The scene transitioned to the mecha flying over enemies incredibly fast. The mecha slowed down in front of the enemy mechs. Its glowing green blade slashes at them, and they exploded in flames. The Gundam reared back its bladed whip, twirling around, before posing and showing off its red armor and full, unobstructed appearance. The sixth Gundam. Epion, the sixth Gundam. Itsuka's amazed face was almost priceless for the other 1B girls. Does this mean that Gundam exists in its own world, too? I suppose it does, Yui muttered, her stoic expression hiding the heart of a giddy fangirl about to burst. Yes. The white screen dimmed to see a man in a white costume descend in front of a group of 5 teenagers, his white boots landing softly on the ground. The full appearance of the individual showed none other than an iconic white and gold-armored Power Ranger. Power Rangers, too, Uraraka exclaimed, excited. It's the White Ranger. Tommy Oliver. Kuta jumped up and down, his face of pure excitement warming both Midoriya's and Mandalay's hearts. White Ranger, Eri mouthed, tilting her head, curious. Tiger Zord, Tommy Oliver yelled out, flashing his morpher to the screen. Iconic music played as the giant, white, tiger-like robot roared, leaping over hills. White Ranger Tiger Power. White Ranger Tiger Power. The Thunder Zord morphed into its warrior mode while the music sang out. Tiger power now. The White Ranger posed before the Zord slashed at a giant monster. The 6th Gundam versus the 6th Ranger. I'm so geeking out over here. Kaminari vibrated in his seat, a giddy grin on his face. I'll say, Jiro rubbed her ears. Your already annoying voice is somehow getting more annoying with how loud it's getting. Nothing you say can bring me down right now. Kaminari waved her away, before looking toward Melissa and May. Come on, play it already. After getting further looks of confirmation from the group, Melissa nodded and pressed the play button.